All right, well, good morning, everyone. Today we have a really fun video, at least for dorks like me. Today is going to be kind of cool. We're going to talk about the entire Control4 lighting platform. Now, I say that when I say the entire Control4 lighting platform, I'm referring to just the Zigbee, or sometimes it's called the wireless lighting platform. We'll have another tech tip that goes into the panelized system, what that does, how it works, advantages, disadvantages. But today we're going to talk about the Zigbee products. So if you're doing Control4 in your home, one of the questions is, you're going to look through this package that some company will build for you, and you'll look down and you'll see adaptive dimmer and keypad dimmer and switch and all these different things, and not really sure what they do and why there's so many different ones. So today we're going to take this, we're going to go through these 6 different products, talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each, when you should use which one, and then just overall, as you're thinking about it, things to keep in mind. So maybe if you have one product spec, why another one could be beneficial. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is this one right here. So this is called an adaptive dimmer. So what an adaptive dimmer does is it allows, whether you're working with an incandescent, a standard light bulb, or whether you're working with an LED, this dimmer can support that function. So the difference is, without going way too far into the weeds on you guys, it can adapt to the way that LEDs need to dim. By using adaptive dimmer, you get much more linear ramping of the light intensity and overall less flickering. Like sometimes if you put dimmers on LEDs, you'll notice when you dim them down to 0, right as they go dark, they'll flicker. And you get one little blink of light. The adaptive dimmer addresses that. So if you have that issue, give your dealer a call, let them know you have some forward phase dimmers you need to replace with adaptive. Okay? Again, adaptive dimmer. These are required on LEDs. They are a little bit more expensive than your forward phase, but they do have way more functionality, much better performance. All right, product number 1. Product number 2, we're going to talk about a forward phase dimmer. So a forward phase dimmer is really only compatible with incandescent bulbs. It is a dimmer, like I said, a forward phase dimmer. That's really the only thing you can use these with is incandescent. The advantage of a forward phase versus an adaptive phase, they do look the same. Here we just have different color kits on them, but they do look the same. The only difference is that when you have a forward phase, they can handle more power. So if you have something like a chandelier that you're trying to control, and a forward phase dimmer may make more sense. I will say we are pretty much phasing these out of all of our projects. We're going with adaptive on pretty much everything because people are replacing all of those incandescent bulbs with LED. Again, if you try and do LEDs on a forward phase, you're most likely going to see some really funky dimming. Okay? All right. Third product is going to be a switch. So when you have a switch, this is simply just an on and off. There is no dimming at all. Okay? These work really great for higher current loads. So if you have something really big that needs more power, that's when your dealer may spec the switch. A couple other things with a switch. This product, not only can it handle more power, but if you're using something like motors, you have maybe a fountain pump or something like that you want to turn on or off. The other thing is, this product has to be used if you have fluorescents, because fluorescents are non-dimmable. Okay? Non-dimmable, that's when you use the switch. Okay? So switch goes in when you're at higher power and no dimming. Okay? We're then going to shift over to what are called keypads and keypad dimmers. Okay? Keypads and keypad dimmers, when you look at them from the side, you can see they do actually look quite different. We can configure them very differently on the front based on your specific needs. So your dealer that you're working with will help you figure out what button configuration. These come with a whole slew of buttons, so they can be custom configured at any time, even after install. And that's one thing that many people don't realize is that if you go and put this in your house with this configuration and a year later, you maybe want less buttons or more buttons, your dealer can go ahead and swap those out for you, reprogram the system, and you're up and going. So now let's talk about what the difference is between a keypad dimmer and a keypad. Keypad dimmers are one of my personally favorite products. The big advantage of a keypad dimmer is we can take out that existing switch, put this in the location, so this can control that load, control that light that's in that room, but also give you button functionality. So a good example for this is, let's say in the kitchen you add music, or you maybe add some lighting scenes, okay? What you need is not just a rocker, you need some buttons. But the problem is, maybe in that slot in your box, you already had a standard switch. Well, we can't just yank that out. We still need a dimmer to control those lights, to control those can lights. Perfect product in that situation. We can take this product, put that in the location, still give you a button to turn that single light on and off, but now we have all these other functions we can add. So we can give you a button that maybe says Pandora. You hit Pandora, it turns on your music at the volume level you want. We maybe have a Pandora skip to go to another channel, and then we also can give you volume up right there. Very, very functional product. Disadvantage of a keypad dimmer, it is the most expensive. These do go for $249. So you're talking roughly $80 more than a dimmer to add this button functionality. So typically people won't put these throughout the entire house. They'll put a couple of them in prime locations. Keypad dimmer, okay? We then go onto just the keypad. So again, this is just a keypad. So like if you're doing a new construction, what you could do is you could put this in a location where we're not controlling any lights directly, but we have buttons to launch any commands. We actually had a client that described to us that their way of understanding this product is this is like a remote control that wires into the wall. These buttons can be programmed to do anything. They can control lighting, they can control music, anything that's part of your ecosystem can be controlled from these buttons. So keep in mind, very, very functional product. Same usability as a keypad dimmer, but the difference is we cannot control a load with it. We can hit a button and make a dimmer or a switch somewhere else turn on and off, but it cannot wire directly to this one. Okay? Hopefully that clears it up. And these are less expensive than a keypad dimmer. That's one of the reasons you'd use these. Okay? We're now going to go to the last product. The last product is called an auxiliary switch. So let's say you have a room that has a three-way to it. Okay? You have 2 points of entry into the room, and right now there's a switch on both ends of that room that control the overhead lights. If you want to automate those lights, you have to replace both switches. Well, if you replace those with dimmers or keypad dimmers, that can get expensive because you could be at $250 a piece. That can add up. So what we can do is we can put in what's called an auxiliary switch. So think of this as nothing more than an electronic three-way switch. So this wires in, same as your existing three-way setup. And what this does is this allows you to automate that light, and then that three-way is only 39 bucks. So rather than having to put in something more expensive, you can put this in for 39 bucks, and now you get three-way functionality. So then the question is, why wouldn't you use these on every three-way? Great question. I will tell you that at the Loop, our frequency of using these is roughly 15 to 20% out of all of our applications. Even though they're less expensive, many clients still decide not to use these. Reason being that you do not get any light feedback, so there is no status on here. If you get them custom engraved, there is also no backlighting on that engraving, which isn't necessarily a big deal if it's by itself. But if this is in with maybe 2 or 3 other switches, now you'd have 2 or 3 other switches that have status lights on them, really nice backlit engraving. This product would be dim. There would not be any lighting or any feedback on it. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it can look a little bit odd. But from a cost standpoint, it works really well. So again, if you're thinking about Control4 lighting and you're thinking about three-ways, on those three-ways, and again, three-way where you have 2 switches controlling 1 light, you want to figure out whether you want to go with the aux switch or whether you want to go with a regular switch. We're going with a regular switch for that three-way. Gives you the engraving, gives you the backlighting, all that functionality. Okay, aux switch saves you money, but aesthetically doesn't quite look the same. Okay, that's a description of Control4 Zigbee lighting, sometimes called Control4 wireless lighting. Hope you found it beneficial. Hope this helps. Any comments, please comment down below. Any specific questions, have a situation in your home you need some tech support with, just give us a call. Okay, thank you guys so much.